go. All right, we have 6:03. We'll get started. Before we get started, Dr. Fitzpatrick for a moment of silence.
Yes, please. As I trust that everyone is aware, our 17-year-old student athlete, Tony Pennant, who was an active participant in multiple things at the school, had a smile that would, movie style smile, if you will. We lost him after a battle. And Tony's commitment to the football program was so great that he continued to go to games in a wheelchair. Okay, and we regularly observe that. So it is with great sorrow that we acknowledge the loss of Tony and wish his family the very best, and thank them for the time that Tony was with us. God bless. Thank you very much. Yes, we also want to make people aware that may not be aware that the long-term former Blackstone Valley Tech School Committee Secretary, not school committee, school secretary, Sally Duper, who lives right around the corner, also lost her battle and passed away. We'll offer a moment of silence for Sally. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fitzpatrick. Were there any other comments or anything before we start?
We were made aware prior to the meeting that Mr. Tinarelli is not able to join us, Mrs. Mitchell is not able to join us, and Mr. Lavin is not able to join us.
All right, thank you very much. First item on the agenda, Secretary's report. Mr. Yates.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed the meeting minutes for the regular school committee meeting of December 19th, and I make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Motion made and second. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are accepted. Next item on the agenda is the Treasurer's Report. Ms. Ogier.
In your package, you would have received the December 31st, 2019 Treasurer's Report. Cash at the end of December was $6,537,310.31. We had $4,976,403.85 in local funds and $1,560,906.46 in project funds. During the month, you can see that we had 3 payroll warrants, and that's why there is almost $1.5 million in expenses in payroll. And our AP warrants were a little bit light during the month of December, but we make up for that in January because we have our interest and principal payment on our debt due the 15th of January. In terms of revenues, they are right on target as anticipated. We did get $40,000 in grants, and our student activities receipts are somewhat building up at this point. Anybody have any questions?
Motion to accept. Second.
Motion made and second to accept the Treasurer's Report as presented. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Ogier. And next,
Yes, so there was another item on the agenda, and it's a new law that was just recently passed, which is part of Chapter 71, and it allows school committee to designate one warrant signer. Right now, you have the procedure in place where 3 people have to sign the warrants before we're allowed to issue payroll and AP checks, and this will allow only one signature. So in discussions with the business office, Lana and Curtis, we thought we might want to consider changing the policy to adopt this law, allowing the one signature with 2 alternates. Today, we have 3 signatures with 1 alternate, but this would allow in case, the original signature isn't available, the original signer isn't available, that we would have 2 alternates that we could contact in the event that somebody's unavailable.
Question? No? Okay. Speaking on behalf of the recommendation, although there's technically, unless you want a motion first, you want a motion to consider adopting?
So moved.
Motion.
Motion made and second to adopt the single signature for payroll and accounts payable warrants.
For chapter 71, section 68.
This is an option that has been encouraged by the Mass Association of Regional Schools, and it's an option that many of our sister regional systems, whether they're vocational or not, have taken advantage of.
As I say, I see no issue with it. I mean, it does provide for a report back on every school committee.
This was part of the Governor's Modernization Act for cities and towns, and it was omitted from school districts, so this is kind of a correction and a catch-up as part of that Modernization Act. So a lot of, in addition to fellow districts, a lot of cities and towns also have adopted this policy.
Any other questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the single signature policy, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, for the next portion of the school committee meeting, I will hand it over to Dr. Fitzpatrick for election.
Consistent with our annual timetable, in the January gathering of the school committee, we actually create an election of our officers. So the floor is open for a chair. Yes, Chair.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Hall for chair.
On nomination of Joe Hall. Hall.
I
Second,
move no motions be closed.
Mr. Hall accept the nomination.
I do accept.
Motion to close. Any second on closing?
Second.
Those in favor of closing?
Aye.
Therefore, a single vote will take case of the chair. Welcome back.
Thank you very much for your confidence as we continue to move forward with the mission of the school. Proverbially taking it back over.
Just let me, for the purposes of complying specifically with the intention of the motion would be that the individual who moved the election of Joe Hall as Blackstone Valley Vocational Regional School Chair as required by Section E of the Blackstone Valley Vocational Regional School District Agreement and policy as listed of the School District Policy Manual. The term of office shall commence January 2020 and conclude at the regular meeting held January 2021. Okay, that's so for the record. If you need that, I believe all school committee members have it, so they at their fingertips.
Okay. Next up, we'll open the floor to nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Mr. Gerald Finn.
Second.
Nomination of Mr. Finn seconded. Do you accept the nomination?
I will, thank you. Move nominations be closed. Second.
Motion made and second to close nominations. All those in favor of closing nominations for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you very much. Welcome back, Mr. Finn.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time as well.
That motion is also in our packet as 4.2 for the term of office to commence January 2020 and to conclude at the regular meeting January 2021. Cover what you were going to do.
Yes, I'm just suggesting that the secretary record it in that manner, because clearly that was the spirit, and all committee members who took action had this motion at their fingertips.
Open the floor for nominations for, actually that's an appointment, but I'll open the floor for secretary. Any nominations for appointment to secretary?
I nominate Mr. Anthony Yitz.
Mr. Yates is nominated. Any seconds?
Second.
hereby appoint.
I hereby appoint. Mr. Yates, do you accept the appointment before I go ahead and appoint you?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
I hereby appoint Anthony Yates as Blackstone Valley Regional District Committee Secretary. Term of office to commence January 2020, and conclude at the regular meeting 2021. Next up, Assistant Treasurer. I'll accept any nominations or suggestions for Assistant Treasurer.
That was Chet.
I nominate Chet.
Mr.
Mr.
Hanratty.
Abeling mostly was suggested.
Suggested, sir.
Mr. Henry for the
Do I
appointment.
have a second?
Second.
Motion seconded. Mr. Hanratty, do you accept the,
I do.
I hereby move the appointment of Mr. Hanratty as Assistant Treasurer for the Blackstone Valley Vocational Regional District, term of office to commence 2020 and to conclude regular meeting January 2021.
I would like to point out to the committee that while there was a clause there in determining who the assistant treasurer was, that confirms that the assistant treasurer performed his duties without issue or public notoriety. Otherwise, you would have all known who the assistant treasurer is.
Point.
And now, item 4.5 for the payroll assignment, we are looking for one under the newly adopted policy pursuant to the general laws as we accepted earlier tonight. Looking for one person. Were you the, you were the signer?
I was a signer.
I was a signer.
I was gonna say, now we're down to one, so
Yeah, I
I was
know.
gonna say.
I nominate David Barr.
All right. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Motion second, do you accept it?
I do.
Okay, based on that, I hereby move the appointment of Mr. Bartlett as payroll AP warrant signer for Blackstone Valley Vocational Regional District. The term shall commence January 2020 and conclude at a regular meeting January 2021. So next up, alternate payroll AP warrant signers. We need two.
Nominate Mr. Evelyn.
Okay. He seconded his own nomination, we'll take that.
I'll second.
That's one. Do I have a second? We can do a.
Nominate Mr. Bartlett.
But
You do the alternate.
Do I have a second on this? Well, like I say, I think I heard Dave actually nominate. And a second on that?
Second.
Do you accept? Okay, based on those acceptances, I hereby appoint Mr. Braza and Mr. Emmeling as alternate payroll AP warrant signers for the Blackstone Valley Regional School District. Term of office to commence January 2020 and conclude at the regular meeting next January 2021. Moving on, Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I invite Assistant Superintendent Principal Steele to join me in our recognition of two students of distinction. First of all, I invite Annika Coleman to join us. Annika is the daughter of our school committee member. That's just not a similar name. In fact, this is actually, and Annika is the Mass Vocational Association, commonly known as MVA, outstanding traditional student nominee. We are certainly proud to recognize our 2020 Mass Vocational Association student nominee. Annika is a senior from Northbridge in our health services program, an active participant in Skills USA, where she is distinguished herself. She is currently serving as the Skills USA National Region 1 Vice President, truly an ambassador to our school and our state in the mission of Skills USA. Additionally, Annika is a member of the National Honor Society, the National Technical Honor Society, the Leo Club, a student ambassador, a peer mentor, and a student council member. So a very active young lady who is actually off to Turners Falls, I think, tomorrow morning on behalf of another mission. So I invite Mr. Steele to make a comment or wishes.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much, as always, have represented us well and make us proud. And I think tomorrow is a Skills USA mission.
Of course.
Ambassadorship out to Turner's Falls, just up the street. But everything that Annika's done here has made us proud and actually made the state proud. That's not an exaggeration, particularly as a national officer. So thank you for all you do and representing us well.
While we thoroughly enjoy our interactions with Monica, Mr. Koopman, we also are blessed with Mr. Koopman's mother, who assists us in multiple capacities and periodically offers suggestions and advice to both the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, which we take in the spirit in which is it extended. So also we extend congratulations to your grandmother. We're also fortunate, as the agenda indicates, to recognize our non-traditional student nominees to the Mass Vocational School, Mary Beth Buto. Mary Beth is a senior from Blackstone in our construction technology program, a member of the National Honor Society, the National Technical Honor Society, an active participant in Skills USA with a silver medal in district competition. Varsity track field, student council member, Mary Beth is one of 3 female senior students in our construction technology program. But she is not the only non-traditional student in her family. Mary Beth's sister, Kimberly Buto, graduated from BVT in 2016 from HVAC. We're going to see a presentation later from HVAC's staff in the program, and is now a plumber apprentice. We extend sincere congratulations to Mary Beth.
Thank you very much. Next up, student representatives, Logan and Isabella.
Hello, everyone. So we have a couple updates for you guys. First up is the annual Hyannis Conference. We'll be attending in March. We'll be sending 20 delegates. It's a great opportunity for our general counsel to get involved in workshops, grow leadership skills. We participate in the Polar Plunge, which is to raise money for the Special Olympics. And overall, just a great time and a great bonding experience for our council. We'll also be attending the Celebration for a Cause at the Special Olympics headquarters, February 1st. This is a new event from MASC. It's formal, and I think we're all really excited for it. Yeah.
Next, this past weekend, we had 8 members of our student council attend the Special Olympics bocce tournament at Walpole High School. It was a great event, and it promoted inclusion for these athletes. And coming up this February 2nd, we will be having our CDMASC annual winter retreat, which is a winter retreat for Central Massachusetts, all of our student councils. And yeah, do you guys have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Next up, HVAC department.
I invite Mr. Bellman to introduce instructors from the heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and refrigeration program.
So tonight we have Dan Warren and Matt LaJoy presenting from HVAC. Josh Dunton just gave me girl, so he can't be with them tonight, but very proud of these men. They are doing a great job in the program. They have a lot to tell you tonight. But I'm also proud because they graduates of BVT and my former students as well in the same class. Is that 2003?
2004.
2004.
We're not that old yet.
All right, sounds good. Gentlemen, take it away.
All right, thanks very much. So first thing we were just going to talk about some of the industry trends, how there's a lot of things going, obviously technical in every career path. So heat pumps are obviously something more people have heard about now than they did 5 years ago. They're becoming kind of the do-all, fix-all for everything. We're doing a lot more lab work in the shop, which was not a thing before. Our condensing boilers and furnaces, it's just an ever-changing industry, so it's all circuit boards. There's much less simple one-part fixes every unit. So we're getting into more elaborate, more technical wiring diagrams with the kids there. Refrigerants are shifting. You probably see it even in the local news. They changed the refrigerants 2008, and they're already changing that refrigerant out and phasing it out. Now they're going to things called hydrocarbons, which are actually fuels like they used to use back when they first found refrigerants, butane, propane. There's a date, I don't remember it, but they're going to make all household appliances with the refrigerant propane. So there won't be refrigerants that are similar to the ones that we are now with 134A and the different numeric ones. So big shift in the industry. It obviously changes the types of tooling we have to get for the kids. Some of the things we've done, so as Mr. Bellin said, we're a new group of teachers, so we finally found the right mix of 3 guys, and we've been together now our 2nd year, so we're making a lot of changes as a group. We have a massively remodeled heating lab to show those changes in equipment efficiencies. Solderless fittings, we did bring some here tonight, which you can pull up now if you'd like. Solderless fittings is like a pro press machine, so you might have been familiar with it from the plumbing world. We're working in the future years to get a new product called Zoom Lock, which is a refrigeration pro press version. So it looks the same as this setup, but it would be good for the pressures of refrigerant. It's funny, when this changed over, or when I started seeing this change over, I thought the hacks were putting in this stuff, and now it's literally the top-notch thing to do. It has a longer lifespan than your traditional soldered fittings. It also prevents new Massachusetts laws where you have to have a fire department personnel on staff when you're using a torch. Now you can use this in a job and not have to have a fire department available. Mr. LaJoy runs an advanced controls course, one of his specialties from the field. So we have a computer system that you may already know about in the school building that operates all of our equipment, heating, cooling, lighting, and that sort. We work with it, integrate it with the kids.
So we actually are starting to get into the Andover control system, and we're teaching the kids about continuum. We're actually trying to break down the basics of how building automation works, and it's really interesting because the kids are getting new wave technology. There's BACnet that's involved that hopefully someday we'll be trying to teach the kids, which will be pretty interesting. As part of the advanced controls course, we're actually doing work in the building that's helping save a little bit of money, because we're able to change out controllers and work with the building automation system to ensure that the systems are working properly at the school.
So the tooling and torquing, just kind of touching upon some of that new technology. For instance, the ductless splits now have to be torqued like an auto mechanic torques bolts for tires. That was never a thing in our industry. Now we have flaring as a commonality in our refrigeration work, so we have torque wrenches now that kids learn about. Our advisory committee obviously has changed with changing tides of instructors, so we've gone out and got a healthy group of new advisory committee members to kind of ride the next 30 years out with us, or hopefully more years than 30. Matt, if you go to the next one, because it'll roll right into it. So a couple big advisory committee members, industry connections. We found a company, it's actually funny, based on a student's questioning me enough about why or how something happened. We found a company called Interstate Refrigerant Recovery Incorporated out of Foxborough. They're the only one of 6 companies that actually does the cleaning, reclaiming is the process, and recycling of refrigerants, so they can reprocess it to resell it. He's given us an exorbitant amount of donations and time of his own explaining to the kids. Mike Howe is a gentleman from TJX who's brought us out for site visits when they fully demolished a kitchen in there. One of their properties, they're redoing another building over that they picked up, and they want us to come back out to show the final process of that as well. So he's been an intricate member. Waters Corp, a couple of years ago, had a big donation of a nitrogen generator, which is a gas we use all the time, which has saved us tons of money in that gas purchase. We currently do, and hope to continuing, have 100% placement on co-op. 70% of ours does seem to be residential right now, 30% commercial or industrial industry. So we have a decent mix in there. I'm looking forward into our upcoming generations, hopefully. We're looking to take more community work. So if you don't already know, we do all the work in the building for heating and cooling. We definitely don't have a shortage of work with the equipment getting older in the building, but we definitely at least feel the need passionately, and we've talked with the kids about reaching out to the communities. I mean, we're not looking to steal people's work, but we want to help our communities out, so if there's anything that's available for us, we'd love to help out with that. With the new technology, there's a lot of changes and shifts in the training, so, you know, like I said before, it's not one part for your furnace now. You have to learn about each manufacturer's product line. So we've had vendors come in like Bosch and Fujitsu and Mitsubishi to do some trainings. We've also gone out to some facilities, and as we get deeper in this, that'll become more and more of an interest for us. It's also nice to see the kids listen to them much more than they listen to us. So it's nice to let them hear it from another ear. We're looking into some additional certifications. So we're looking into an oil burner's license. There's a new refrigeration EPA license that's a sublet of the traditional EPA license for our higher pressure refrigerants, so we're looking into that. It's all just based on our recommendations from our advisory committee and our industry training. So we're actually right now getting into a Fujitsu factory training. We got a grant unit, which is a simultaneous heating and cooling unit. It's the newest and bestest in the ductless split technology. We could heat one room and actually cool the other with the heat. I'm sorry, you could heat the other room with the cooling from the other one and vice versa. They can use each other's energy up, and it's a specific equipment that we have to get trained on as instructors so we can work with our teachers on it. So we're going through that now. Going on to co-op quickly. This is just this is actually a cool picture. I will say we learned, we heard about this idea from Assabet when we visited their school. Some of their non-traditional shops had pictures of some of the non-traditional students. So last year, this was our group of 10 students that we had in our shop of about 70 students. So these are some of their people. They mentioned the Butos. Their older daughter, Kim, is working for a company right in the valley in Blackstone. She's doing very well from 2016. We just got our first union pipe fitter in last year. She just got into the union in the spring, Kirsten Flavin, so we're looking forward to having her come back and educate the kids on their opportunities. And we currently have a student, Sarah Trenholm, working over at Milford Hospital over in Milford, which is also my co-op when I was in high school, so very fun spot. So a lot of good industry right now. We have, how many females right now?
Right now, we have 17 females in the program.
Which will roll right into our, I think this is going to be our skills, perfect. So in skills, I just put up one picture, but we've been pretty active in Skills USA. If you're not familiar with it, it's a competition in the trades and in different areas. We send kids for HVAC and appliance repair. So a couple of years ago, we had a national bronze medalist. And then our most recent success last year, we had a junior get the gold medal in major appliance repair, which is more of like a troubleshooting technology competition, and he won the gold in the nation. He's got all kinds of companies running after him. He got all kinds of wonderful tooling stuff. So we've had good success with it. We definitely want the kids to see that passionate side of the trade, and it's been an awesome experience so far for them. We can kind of slide through this quickly. This was some exploratory placement. The gist of it is we're getting a little bit less than what our enrollment is coming into the school thinking they wanted. So this year we had 10 students coming in thinking they wanted our shop. We ended up with 22 first choices. We filled with 18, so we had a little waiting list. And a lot of it's obviously our students and our chemistry as teachers. We try to keep things fun, but obviously focused, and we're seeming to be getting the good feedback from our students. So we obviously do some work on the building. This was a major repair this year. We had the largest rooftop unit, which serves our competition center, leak a half hour before our homecoming pep rally started. So we had a waterfall coming down. It was through the work of facilities. Mr. Bellin was in the buckets as well, helping us out. We were running around frantically, got it back going, and were able to get the event going like 15 minutes late. So it was a pretty good turnaround. We had a leak in the coil. They're getting older, obviously. We're making the repairs as we need to. We have students with us every day working on stuff, and it's a lot of fun for them to see kind of what the weather feels like and what the real work can be.
So we like to point out that while working in the trade, there's certain simulations that you don't necessarily get in the classroom environment inside. So we get an opportunity. It's a great opportunity to take the kids out and let them experience real work and the real world. Safety is a big factor. We're constantly going over different procedures and how we're supposed to be doing access to the roof, access to equipment. It's very nice for the kids to actually get that hands-on work, and they really enjoy doing it, and they get a kick out of a lot of the stuff that we get to do out there.
Well, that's all, folks.
Yep.
So I don't know if you guys have any questions, but we appreciate you guys having us here for the meeting.
I'd just like to point out why both of these instructors do a incredibly effective job. It is not a requirement that you have a beard to teach in the HVAC.
Thanks very much, Jack.
Anthony, then Gary.
On the controls part of it, are you introducing them to any type of wireless controls? A lot of buildings and
So
even home units now are
right
wireless interface.
now we're we're working with the continuum system, which is all wired in, a lot of that control aspect of it. With the backnet control, that is eventually something that's going to take over. We're additionally going to have to start trying to integrate that into what we're teaching the kids. It's very interesting technology. It's something I worked on a while ago that we aren't necessarily at right now here at the school. But it's interesting to talk about and interesting for the kids at least to see what kind of technology is coming down the pipe. Additionally, we do have home controls. That,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
that
we have
show-
some of the wireless thermostats in
Yeah.
the shop for some of the more advanced systems that require it.
Yeah.
So we do have some of the wireless on that, and not in the control side
Yeah.
yet. We have like an airflow meter that's a wireless, works on your phone. Future, because it's an expense and it's not a necessity right now, wireless gauges are a big thing for refrigerant loss, so they actually make them so they actually hook up to your phone or an iPad. Technicians are starting to use them. We're hearing they're substantially costly and delicate, and the kids definitely don't play with those things the nicest way when they get into the shop. So it's something we're looking into in the future, definitely. I think controls-wise, it's more wired at this point.
Yeah, definitely hopes in the future for getting some more technology like that so that the kids can get that experience.
Need some grants.
Just a quick question, the splits that you talk about, is it my imagination, or are they getting more prevalent out there in the marketplace? They seem to be something that years ago was not very well thought of. I guess they were kind of like a secondary source of heating. Now I see like they're almost, I've seen new houses, a lot of primaries have been going in with those. Is
So
that
yeah,
true?
so being from that residential industry, it was like voodoo 15 years ago to put them in. People thought they were ugly, they
Yeah.
thought they were silly, they weren't gonna work because they're working off of electricity. So the concept of a heat pump's been used in Europe for about 25, 30 years. They laughed at us when we weren't using them over here in the, through the magazines and stuff, what I'm reading. So when I got into the industry, which was about 16 years ago, from high school, it was just becoming like an addition on the house. They'd put one in because they didn't have the size system for it. Now, the actual manufacturers, instead of just having that ductless technology, they actually have designed it so they can make it into a ducted system. So like Fujitsu, Mitsubishi, some of the big name brands, they have ducted systems, so you wouldn't even know that it's that same technology, but it's ducted through a house. They also have made them slimmer looking. They have ones that are, they even have ones that are picture frames that lean off the wall. So, and then the bigger push really was the efficiency changes, so they can work down to negative 15 degrees at full capacity and heating, so it makes it a primary source for people. So I think that those two things in turn kind of have made that happen, and Massachusetts has helped with incentives too, which has helped push that energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if it's the same thing, but my daughter does the commercial mostly, and she works on mini splits
Yep.
all the time.
Very same exact technology. Yep.
That's what she does most of the time.
I find that a lot of commercial places, they want to put in a mini split because it's more cost effective for
Yeah.
them, rather than redesigning or re-engineering a new system. They're like, oh, let's put in a new Mitsubishi, and everyone seems to be happy with that, and it usually does a pretty good job of taking care of the space that they need it for, so.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great job. Next up, facility subcommittee.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the facility subcommittee did not meet. They are aware of this, so they will not be meeting. However, some reports that within the walls of the school, administrative teams and others have been working diligently on assignments from the facility subcommittee, including a conversation, teleconference style, yesterday with the agents of the master building authority as we look at the roof projects, the eligibles, the anticipated budget, reaffirming the time schedule, and maintaining parallel cooperation and coordination with Mass School Building Authority. Also, leadership team has met relative to the Capital Skills Grant, which is a sizable grant of $831,000, relative to how to best implement that, including some of the $133,000 of construction money or modification to our building that's allowed within the budget. So there's been other activities to follow through on initiatives, if you will, that were first put in place by the facility subcommittee. Dave, I don't know if there's any comment.
Just looking for some clarity, we've had some question about, I guess, Robert's rules, subcommittee, Does the subcommittee need to have a quorum of the members of the subcommittee to meet?
It's our understanding, yes. Okay. To meet officially. I mean, it can be a conversation, but conduct the formal business.
Because there's no really no voting going on, it's brought to the committee. Most of the recommendations take place at the subcommittee meetings.
You can't open a meeting without a quorum. That's the downside. That's the other side. I mean, you're right. The only vote you can take without a quorum is a vote to adjourn. But you do still need to have a quorum to start an official meeting, which requires, under the open meeting laws, the public notice and things like that.
I know there's been efforts to coordinate the availability of people before a meeting is called or not called. And we can continue to increase that or work with the chair, just reappointed, to reaffirm those who wish to serve actively. Okay.
Anything else for facilities? Seeing none. Budget. Doc, you want to take that?
Certainly. Mrs. Mitchell indicated the clerk could not be present. The budget subcommittee, which includes Mr. Finn, Mr. Hanratty, Ms. Mitchell, as school committee school committee representation. Yep. Yourself, as of course you serve as ex officio of all of them. Okay, and the treasurer and leadership team members have met consistent with the calendar that was originally put forth, building the budget for FY21. The budgetary planning is proceeding as expected. There are 3 different finance committees of the district that have requested commitment to meet with them. We have agreed to those. I've agreed to those 3. We expect more, and we will keep you posted. The governor is expected to make a State of the State address on the 21st of this month and to release his budget on the 22nd of this month. So the end of the month will be particularly impactful relative to the way in which we will project the state revenues and the subsequent impact that we'll have on the assessments of the town as we build the budget. You, in fact, will be at the public hearing, which requires a quorum, and then we'll be asked to vote on the budget at a subsequent meeting based on the original timetable. Any questions?
Next item on the agenda is actually Curtis.
Okay, in Curtis's absence, the committee members have received a copy of the single audit report, and there was no, we also had an audit presentation, and our treasurer and our assistant superintendent principal also collaborated on additional measures associated with the student accounts, to the total compliance, relative to the audit recommendations or suggestions. But I want to make, not to de-emphasize the fact that once again, multi-million-dollar operation overseen by our assistant superintendent business manager, David Johnson, and his team, have resulted in a clean audit without exception. And in typical fashion, Curtis has decided to come in just as I mentioned that.
Wow, that was fast. Y'all are ahead of schedule. Thank you,
Don't curse
Doc,
us.
for the opening. I thought I'm not gonna be as detailed as our auditors are. Boy, they go through every single detail within the audit report. But just so you know, this really focuses on federal awards that we get through the state government that flows down in some cases directly from the federal government. As a result of that, they established thresholds for us, which is $750,000 in terms of the awards that they look at to segregate the programs that will be audited. This year, that was our Perkins and our special education. They look at compliance issues, contracts, maintenance of effort to ensure that we're in compliance with those guidelines. I think what I'd just point out on page 1 of the report, that they look at internal controls and compliance issues with the district, and in both cases you'll see that they noted that there were no instances in the test work that was performed. And then if I can have you turn over to page 3, and this extends over into page 4, they specifically talk about management's responsibility in terms of compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and anything that is specific to the federal award. Their job is then to come in and make an assessment on the internal controls that oversee the district to ensure that they result in compliance, if you will. So if you'll turn to page 4. Again, opinion on each major federal program and the report over internal controls. Again, no issues of non-compliance for the district. And I think that paired up very well with what they said about the financial audit. I will say this, they usually present both of these reports at the same time, but I know they were a little bit backlogged with people with a 12/31 deadline. Came back into the district and completed that so that we could present it at a later point in time. I'd say that probably saved y'all about 15 minutes of your time possibly. On page 5, this is just a report on the schedule of federal awards that we receive. We actually complete, on the next page you'll see a detailed list of the federal grants with CFDA numbers, the award amounts, the expenditures. We provide that to the auditors. They then audit back to awards that are given down through the state to ensure that those are in agreement, and that's what they again establish that threshold of $750,000 on to identify the programs that will be part of that test work. And again, this is strictly federal awards. It doesn't include state or other private grants that you might normally see as part of the report that's presented periodically to you. And then I think if you turn to page 9, I've already indicated that the program's tested for special education and our vocational education program that was fiscal year 18, carryover 19, and then the award that we were the fiscal liaison for 4 different schools. And then finally, there is on page 10, just the final findings for financial statement audit, and then any question costs, and you will see that there were no instances noted there. So a good clean report for the district, and that is important to obviously ensure that we continue to remain eligible for federal financial assistance through the grant application process. Any questions on that?
Anthony?
Something like 5 or 6 years ago, I remember we purchased a new accounting software package. Does that software handle awards and grants as well?
It does.
So it's expense as well as the awards and grants too?
It does, and I'm not sure what financial package you're talking about. We've had our current financial management system for probably 18 years now. We started with the accounts payable package, but yes, this is for governmental fund accounting, so each grant and each revolving fund, which comprise special revenue funds, have their own dedicated fund account with a self-balancing set of revenues, expenditures, assets, liabilities, and equity. So it does absolutely segregate those by type of fund.
Depreciation, all that is all done by the same package?
It is. We have a fixed asset module, and it tracks both non-fixed assets, which is anything with a per unit cost of less than $5,000. Anything more than that is considered a capital asset. We assign a depreciation period, depreciate the asset, and then report that in the financial statements.
One more question. Is that software still adequate?
Oh yeah.
It is.
In fact, I think if you heard what the auditor said, that we have one of the best sets, and I've heard this from any auditor in here on fixed assets.
Okay.
Absolutely spot on.
Thank you.
I would say this, I didn't present this, but I ran the numbers really quick. I'll present this to you next month. And it's just because we had an update for the roof project at this point. I think we originally came in with about a $715,000 estimate. We threw a 53.53% reimbursement rate. At the time we were putting this report together. Subsequently, that has gone up to about we say just under 1.5 million. Our reimbursement rate is 55%. So putting that out there, taking off things that we have not been successful getting, and then adding on, for instance, the Project Lead the Way. We are now sitting at a potential of about $2.8 million in grants this year, which is, I think, almost a blockbuster for us. Again, you need to give reason to this number around awards related to the MSBA roof project, and then a couple of the Mass Skills capital grants, which were quite high. But that's actually really good news, and I wanted to share, and I'll give you a formal report at the next school committee. Does anybody have any additional questions, at least on the audit report? Hearing none. The only other item that we don't have line item transfers to present, is just to have you approve a donation award from ZPT Energy Solutions. We have been trying to press this vendor for, I'd say, the better part of probably 10 months to, make a contribution or some type of a grant to the school. You'll remember that Todd Bard, who was with our energy broker group that helped procure our solar panels, he did make a grant award to us in the amount of $9,000. We used some of that towards the American Revolution event that we held. And we're going to free up the remaining amount of that money to put towards the truck, along with this $21,000. So you're going to see that that's one of the adjustments we're going to make in the budget proposal that will be finalized on February 6th from a budget subcommittee perspective. So if you've got any questions on that, I'll entertain them. Otherwise, we just wanted to put that before the school committee to accept the donation.
Motion made and second to accept this donation. Questions, comments, discussion? Doc?
This is another example of finding alternative ways to acquire an asset, which in this case our plowing truck, and plow our own campus without asking the taxpayers to subsidize it. Therefore, our plan would be to pay for this through sources such as this and others that we're pursuing the donations. So we do not have to include it, this is our plan, do not have to include it in our FY21 budget request at the time.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of accepting this donation say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson.
Congratulations on the audit.
And for leaving Anthony plenty of time.
I believe by my calculations, we're 1 hour and 10 minutes before the heat turns on in here. That's all right. Green lights go on.
You don't get an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh.
Well, he may not get it. Doesn't mean he won't use it.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see you all again. My section tonight seems relatively brief. First, I'll talk about this stunning award I have to my right here. That is our Markham Award, and we have once again secured that honor from the Boston Globe. To remind you, the Markham Award is awarded by the Boston Globe for essentially athletic excellence, and in our case we had the winningest percentage in all athletic contests. Our winning percentage was 70.39 of all contests entered. This is a continued run for us as we have won this 8 out of the last 12 years. So basically, I'm here to report to you this year's accomplishment. Not only did we earn that again, but had some pretty significant standout performances. Obviously, we had the Division 7 Super Bowl. The girls soccer team was 16-2-2 and played in the D3 state semis. Girls softball went 20-2 and boys lacrosse went 17-2. There's just a few of the major highlights there. But obviously speaks volumes to not only the commitment of our student athletes, but also to the good folks that we have, coaches and Ms. Denise and Jeanette Fennell and others who are putting the athletic program together year after year that helps yield this. So certainly congratulations to all of them and all of you. It's just one more way that Valley Tech has shown a commitment to excellence. Questions about the Markham Award? Okay, moving on in your packets, 11.2, you will find a proposed schedule for next year. Follows our usual formula, if you will, for our traditional breaks and holidays and well as 8 professional development days, the 2 of which are the first 2 days of school, and then there are 6 others throughout the year, which is, again, very much in according to the pattern that we've been following. It does have the contractual expectations, 195 days for staff, 193 for students. Of course, one of the days in the mix, you'll see April 30th, we are still hosting the Skills USA State competition here at school. We'll continue to do that. Boy, I think year 11 or 12 now. Mr. Cooper, if you recall when you first started hosting state.
If I can remember back that long.
It was only supposed to be for a couple of years. But it's, I think we're at 11 or 12, Tom, do you recall?
I think it's right around there.
Yeah. So it's an honor to do it. We're certainly well set up for it at this point, and we'll continue to host students from all over the state for the state championship here. Any questions on the calendar? Okay.
I'll entertain a motion.
Yep.
Second. Any motion?
Motion made by Mr. Broderick. Second to approve the school calendar as presented. Questions, comments, discussion? Doctor, you have something?
No, I just sort of was referencing the vote.
Oh, okay. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the calendar as presented, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, calendar is approved.
Thank you very much. Moving on into the practical nursing graduation update. That is fast approaching on the 22nd, next week. Certainly extend an invitation to all of you who wish to come and attend that. It's our other graduation that we hold every year. Certainly, I think Doc and I have both spoken about it and described it. A very proud moment for all of us as we send another cohort off into the workforce.
17, I think.
16 or 17 this year. I think we're sitting at 16, if I'm not mistaken. And Mr. Hall, you usually attend with us as well to give out diplomas, and the students are also pinned and take their oaths. So look forward to that. We're also frequently joined by several of our legislators, so always look forward to seeing them as well and thank them in advance for their support. They've always been there to support the program and their constituents. I'm not certain at this moment who the keynote speaker is. I've not heard that. But nonetheless, welcome you all to come and attend. It'll be 6 o'clock on the 22nd, 6 p.m. Any questions on practical nursing graduation? Moving into 2 out-of-state field trips. 11.4 is in your packet. This is a robotics trip. It is a USA First USA robotics competition in Woodstock, Connecticut. We have 14 students going down with their club advisors for a competition.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made and second to accept the first robotics competition trip. Questions, comments, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, that trip is approved.
Thank you very much.
Now for the more unusual one.
For the more unusual one, I'll call up a rather unusual fella. Cole, come on up. He's a face you've seen before. I think he was just here a month or 2 ago proposing a senior class trip. Not only a good-looking guy, but also the president. And he is here with a unique request. He's also joined by Lara and Eric. His parents are here in support. Cole has been serving his co-op with Audio Spectrum Inc., correct? Correct. And according to the letter we received, he is a very important, integral part of their team. His company, Audio Spectrum Inc., is heading over to the UK, Sheffield to be precise, to put on an event. And they're requesting that Cole, as part of his co-op obligation, or should I say, experience, join them to go do this event. So it is essentially a request for an out-of-country trip. Clearly, you can see we do have the support of Cole's parents, and they have written to that effect as well, and put that in writing for us. And we also have in writing here the strength of the request from Cole's employer. I believe Mr. Belland is satisfied that elements of employment insurances and so forth are to his satisfaction. Is that correct, Mr. Belland? And we are asking for the school committee's approval of this rather unique opportunity to go on this business trip from, let's see, it is what, March 26th to the 30th.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve this out-of-country trip. You guys are satisfied with the oversight, you know, the controls that are in place, right? Like, you know, it is non-traditional, it's not, you know, it's all make sure we got that. Yeah?
I'm satisfied with the controls in place, especially since mom and dad are behind them on this. I guess just a couple of logistics. You know, should you get hurt, anything else, does the company have in place any protocol with where they're working for, you know, making sure they're reporting back to school what happened, as well as, of course, you know, medical attention if needed. Just as long as all that's in place, and definitely you come back and share your experience with us, what an opportunity.
Anthony, I was gonna say, did you want an answer to that, or just want to kind of follow up?
No, it's more of a statement.
Okay.
As long as the school knows the protocol that's being taken to follow, should it be a minor injury, major injury,
Okay.
and that the company's still in report, just because of the distance in communication.
No, absolutely. I mean, this is a
But,
little more.
and I'm sure Mr. Bellin and everybody has it in place.
So my only question, so there's regular work hours that this work's going to be done, setting up for this event. What type of oversight or whatever is there after work hours? So, right?
He'll be with employees, the owner of the company, and other employees all the time. That's written in the employer's letter. Take a look at that. Basically, it's a word in writing that he'll be supervised at all times.
They make a note that another employee I read who's also a past student, you know, ex-military, but will be with him at all times too. So there's more than one set of eyes with him.
And
Folks within have been queried and passed our pass muster, if you will, for co-op for any situation. We make sure there's queries, insurance, child labor laws are followed at all times.
Now, the only thing odd about this is that there's after work hours, which normally in a co-op there aren't.
I could speak to that as 10 years as a co-op coordinator in the past. We've had, not out of country, but where I was out of state, and that there were, you know, parent permissions, parent sign-offs. No one was left anywhere, and there was actually a report that came back to the school of, you know, basically what went on. You know, the supper was at this time, relaxation pool, whatever. It was pretty well documented. It was essentially another set of parents, without being parents.
And any work from school is being coordinated so that during the days he's on this trip?
Well, it's a Thursday to Monday, so it is pretty minimal.
Thursday, Friday, Monday.
I believe that's his co-op week anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So it's not interfering with
learning his
academics?
trade, basically, while he's there.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I was pretty spoke, I figured one of there was gonna be co-op on there, so one way or another. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding this trip?
Cole, since it's a weightlifting activity, you have to check the number of push-ups you can do before the trip and then after the trip.
Well, I'd just like to say, if you're all approving this trip, thank you for not only representing us here, but across the pond. Couldn't think of a better person to do it, and certainly I know you're excited about it. We talked about this venue and where you're going, what you're about to do, so. Thank you for representing, being our ambassador overseas.
Thank you.
Couple good selfies with the BVT and somewhere.
Yeah, the pubs.
I was gonna say, it's just another example of these outside the box opportunities our students have. So,
Global.
Wait, we gotta do a vote. You're not.
all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Have a great trip. Definitely come back and share the experience, 'cause
Come back.
Thank you.
Mr. Yus just wants you to come back.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I believe that is my time, folks.
Take care. Have a great night.
Wow.
Moving on, right?
All right, that does conclude your portion of the meeting. Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Item 12.1, committee members, you have the salmon program or extraction printed by Valley Tech's printing department. This is the annual Worcester County Superintendent's gathering this year at Holy Cross. And you'll notice in the flyer that we have the 2 students from Valley Tech who are recognized, 2 very capable young individuals, Brandon BVT and Daniel Long. Assistant Superintendent Steele and myself joined these 2 young men, along with our colleagues and students recognized throughout Worcester County for their incredible accomplishments. It was a nice luncheon, and we certainly were well represented by our 2 candidates. Any questions? And then moving on. They keep the school committee posted on some of the benefits of some of our affiliations and membership. The NESDEC group, the New England School Developmental Council, annually, as part of the due structure, completes a district-wide enrollment study, which looks at the enrollments in all of the area districts, charter sending schools, as well as their Valley Tech. Their findings are produced here. In summary, it should be clear that it's far more common in our sending schools that they're addressing a declining enrollment situation. Okay? So we continue to expand opportunities. I think it's well known, we have 8 candidates for every 3 seats in our situation. So 8 for every 3 seats. And yet we do our best to continue to respond to the interest and capacity of our building, protecting safety and the quality of construction, our contract ratios, as well as the state's Chapter 74 vocational technical ratios for safety and quality of teaching. So we monitor things of this nature, and the research is particularly helpful. Are there any questions? The request of the chair and vice chair, question has been raised that 6 vocational technical schools in Massachusetts are in the first wave of study by the state to look at this question of capacity versus interest. And since we have 8 students for every 3 seats, it was no surprise, I guess, in some ways, that we were included in the first wave of the analysis. Unfortunately, when the 4-person team from the state met with our leadership team here, they generated items such as the case study, which is just put forth, it was not provided to you in advance. And you can see this case study, if you just examine it quickly, you find that whoever designed this attempted to create a perspective that the current admissions plan at Valley Tech might be flawed, okay, or needed to be revisited. And so they shaped this single case study in the presentation. It's safe to say that we took great issue with this case study as being biased and certainly not providing a clear picture. So look at this, we obviously suggest the candidate on the left would be the successful candidate getting in to Valley Tech in their example, like questioning whether or not that candidate was the one best suited for admissions, and the candidate on the right, although they introduced a variety of emotional factors, would be less suitable, and in this case, unsuccessful. So if you look at the second document, or the fact, we're invited to respond, and we're working on a response due at the end of the month. And so in this case, I prepared my draft part of the response on the case study. And so I took great issue with the, argument that was advanced by the case study. I think it's flawed. And I argued in that fashion, offering the detailed explanations of where I felt it was not accurate, not fair, and not consistent with the Valley Tech admissions process. So supposedly it's supposed to, we are invited to respond, and this is part of the response. So, and some of you do not accept the argument, the rationale, or the attempt to justify questionable activity relative to this, through this sample case study. Questions?
Who, if I may, who is, or what is the main rationale that the people would be using this tactic to try to take a look at a very successful system and find out if there's a flaw in the admissions program?
The non-vocational community of the state and some of the political groups have taken issue and pushed this as an agenda item. So the commissioner has assigned a team, we had a 4-person team, to visit schools. They're expected to visit other vocational technical schools to probe, to determine, and also, in my opinion, the commissioner would like the issue to be resolved by the field, like the problem to go away, and as, but the agents of the Department of Elementary Secondary Education have felt their initial viewpoint on the other view, on the one that the vocational schools need to change, you know what I mean, or to, you know. It's pretty clear when you look at the NESDEC report, declining enrollments and many other things, that the traditional schools are under incredible pressure to perform, and in some cases there's jealousy, if you will, and there's concern that when the governor comes out with capital skills grants, which are competitive, and we need to file applications to do that, the vocational schools are securing money and resources that a non-vocational school is not eligible to pursue. And so it's created a have and a have-not type perspective, and so it's raised questions. And so if in fact there's a fair, legitimate chance to answer a question, to provide our side of the our perspective, then we welcome it. If it's a posse, if you will, out to get you, then of course we have to look at it differently. But we're not doing anything that's illegal. We hate to say no to any student who applies here, the school committee has encouraged us in multiple cases to look at ways to expand. We did ask our towns to support an expansion, but 7 towns were supportive, others were not. We asked the state to support us with some other money. They have yet to do that. So we're continuing to look at cost-effective, politically achievable strategies to serve more students and to share information, relative to the students who are successful. Sorry, long-winded answer. Hope that's helpful. I think so.
Thank you. Sorry, quick question. When they came to visit, are they looking at our admissions process as well as interviewing our current students through that?
No, the quick answer is no. Unfortunately, no. They are looking at our current. The weights listed here are consistent with our current admissions process, so they filed with the state, approved by the state. Okay, but they have not interviewed our students, which is rather sad in some ways. I think so. This is the case where they if you ever said, well, tell us the students you want us to remove. Okay, if you ever met them, it'd be pretty hard to do that kind of thing. So, so it's people prefer to investigate, evaluate, make judgments, and never make any enemies in the process. But that's a luxury that doesn't come with it, kind of thing. So, yes, Joe.
Is there a training that goes with this? The counselors do the interviews, correct?
Yes, that's correct. Our counselors do.
Is there specific training to do these interviews?
Yes.
Okay, and they do take it. So is that a state compliance?
No, that's
It's
part of
above and beyond.
This is part of no, it's part of the state, the Blackstone Valley Tech process.
Okay.
Okay, and so our counselors, consistent with the spirit of your question, are trained to probe relative to the interest in pursuing a trade, whether college could be part of it, but just to do just that. So when they talk about this example of this young man in the first case study, gaming this, gaming that, we're saying that doesn't happen here. When you get a chance to read my explanation, I said, first of all, this individual who got in on the false pretenses would have to fool his own guidance counselor, who would have worked with him for a year or maybe two, okay? And our process of the trained counselors here who are conducting the interviews are designed to probe, to find the connection. So there were two chances to address that are not included in the sample.
I get it. I was just wondering if there was some, just to cover us, because by our standards, we probably take her, correct?
That's correct. You had said she would not get this score under our standards. You're 100% right.
That's my whole point, just, you know what I mean? But to turn down this guy with 100, are they gonna come back? I was just wondering if there's any way, if there was something in place, just to do a little more ass covering on our part, that these councils take some type of training. If there isn't, then there isn't. I'm just exploring whether they could.
Yeah. We do such training, such orientation, such sample questioning. The other things we do, and we want to continue to expand this, we also do training for the sending school people. We have a breakfast, we provide information, another thing, we provide tours, another thing. So we're trying to work out on both sides.
Yeah, they've actually not put any weight on the counselors on the interviews because they're 100% in each case, right?
They granted both the 30 points available for an interview.
Right.
And the 15 for the council.
And they grant, in this particular scenario, which, you know, to me, it's like planting evidence and then doing the investigation. But, so, yeah, they don't distinguish at all. The sending, I take issue with that too.
Yeah.
That the sending school counselor hasn't helped the process by giving the same number of points to both people.
Right.
Okay. And our interview is not an automatic 30-point process. Points are awarded on the basis of the commitment for the trade pursuit. So, which I think is the spirit of your question. Yeah. So we will continue to provide evidence that, and yet we're willing to look for some improvements, modifications, adjustments. That's very terrific. And expanded capacity. Any questions? I'll give you a copy of the full response once it's completed, okay? Which is 90% already. Okay. Once again, any questions on that? I'm not seeing any. Item 12.4. Ironically, while the state of Massachusetts is examining what's happening in the regional voc tech schools, people from other states are coming in to replicate what we do, okay? Which you would hope that the Massachusetts Department of Education, Commissioner, everybody, take pride in the fact that the other states want to replicate their vocational technical system. And we shouldn't hope that is true. One of the more recent visits was the Dr. Nancy Weed from Maine, she's been here before, she came back and she's bringing a team of, I think, 30 colleagues later in February. That was followed up by a subsequent request from the Vermont school system. This is the second person from this system that has reached out to us for information. And we're doing our best to provide information and help to them. Okay? Anyway,
Did you see drastic differences with other states with different
model?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're less inclined to have standalone, full-time vocational technical students. More like a New York's approach where people go over to the voc tech school for some half a day or a period of time, then they return to another setting. Okay, or it's a comprehensive high school model, not a voc tech model. And so, yeah, they generally don't, they certainly wouldn't have a week about type program like the one we do here. So I often use the analogy that, you know, career education activities are like a merit badge versus an Eagle Scout. Okay, as far as the full immersion, the full, activities that we do, high sophistication, high investment, quality teachers like two of whom you met tonight, and the pride they have in their program, and the manner in which we continue Curtis talked about 2.8 million, high water mark relative to new resources coming in, improvements to the facility, all outside of us. So it's a very aggressive approach that we include, and it's not easily replicated. So they do it on a part-time basis, we do it on a full-time basis. Any other questions? Item 12.5. Blackstone Valley Tech, at the request of the Chamber of Commerce of Blackstone Valley, created, as I think we've shared in the past, renovated a mill on the Uxbridge-Northbridge line to create a career education, you might call it a maker's program, Jeff, type opportunity for career education for the area. And that center was recently highlighted for a national award. And I am delighted to see that work done by our students to help others, not enrolled at Valley Tech, would be recognized by this national award. And must say I was a little disappointed that the school and the students weren't referenced when the award was accepted by the chain. Okay, but in any case, nobody can take away the quality of our work and the significance of the contribution by our students. So, that concludes my report.
Next item on the agenda, student activity account FLL fund transfer.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, you have the green document item 13.1 in front of you. Consistent with the report that the treasurer and Curtis have given, and the assistant superintendent Steele, to be in accurate compliance with our student accounts, there are certain transfers that kind of clean up things, and this is one of those. Okay, we have a situation where, as we look at the balances and look at full compliance, we're realigning certain accounts so they comply. I don't know if the treasurer wants to make a comment on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's evident in the description here that this account has become active and it is rolled into what is now the robotics account. So this is just to transfer the remaining funds in the inactive account into the robotics.
Motion for the transfer?
Motion made. Second.
Motion made.
Second.
And second. Do you have anything else on the back?
Yeah, the transfers of this nature are really not intended to make it more difficult for people to use or access the money, but it creates the checks and balances and the confirming steps in the process rather than discretionary spending to go out and pick up this transistor or whatever batteries of the transistor, whatever else you need. There's a process to keep it cleaner, and so that's why we do this. Motion was here.
Any other questions, comments, discussion regarding this transfer? Seeing none, hearing none, all those in favor of approving the transfer, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries, the transfer is approved.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda, items, actually before I do it, any other new business to be brought before the committee tonight? Doc, anything else new?
We do have a thank you note that's been received. Dear BVT school committee members, thank you very much for the generous scholarship. The scholarship will be very helpful in pursuing my higher education at Framingham State University. Thank you again for the generosity. Regards, Emma Hines, who received your scholarship, and conveyed her appreciation for that.
Thank you very much for that, Doc. All right, next item up, items for the good of the committee, available if you would like to make a copy. Next regularly scheduled school committee meeting is March 5th. I believe that's also our public hearing on the budget. Library. That'll be at the library at 5 o'clock. We do have an executive session on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for that.
Take a motion. Second.
We got a motion to go into executive session, second by Mr. Broderick. The purpose of this executive session will be because discussion of the subject in open session will be detrimental to the school district. Roll call, Mr. Bartlett.
Yes.
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 All right. We are now approved for an executive session. Coming out of executive session, the sole purpose will be to close off the meeting and adjourn just for the benefit of the public. And we'll take about a 5-minute break to allow the videographer time to break down. Stop.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, there will be a recommendation that the minutes, of the executive meeting, not be released.
Thank you very much for that. And actually, for the clarification, that will be the only new business we do coming out is the decision on the executive session minutes that are before the committee in the executive session. Great. Thank you very much. We'll take about 5 minutes.